Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Anything Bucket. Today in the WRPBitv studio, we have an author, a speaker. She is the CEO and president of Smart Advantage National and International Consultancy. They work with small businesses to Fortune 500 business. She is a wealth of information for us this evening, and she's going to help us to maximize your message. Please welcome Janie Smith. Janie, welcome to the Anything Bucket.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Jonathan.
And thank you for being here. And I was looking at the book that you have, Relevant Selling, and you also have the Competitive Advantage book. And if you could tell us, how did that all come about, and possibly give us some nuggets for the viewers that they can be competitive in the marketplace, in their business, while also being relevant?
Sure. I'd love to. The first book was written because I had discovered very early on in my career that most businesses cannot answer the question, why should I buy from you and not your competition? So I asked scores and scores and scores of business people and salespeople, why should I buy from you and not your competition? And the answer was always these platitudes, these cliches, because we have good quality, good customer service, good relationships. So what? Everybody says that. That's not a competitive advantage. Those are givens. You've got to have those things to be in business at all. So I began to work on a process to help companies identify competitive advantages they might have that they're not using to answer that why us question. And I got to tell you, we found out that more than 90% of businesses cannot, even today, answer that question.
And I find that as well. Here in the studio a lot, I'll ask that question, what sets you apart? And you'll see the guest kind of get perplexed about it.
And they glaze over and they come out with these.
They look like me, like, I'm from Mars or outer space. And how do you really dig deep when you're working with somebody to help them find that competitive edge and the relevancy of what they're offering?
Yeah, so first we start with, let's find out the potential competitive advantages you might have. We go into a company and we do this exercise, this process I've created over the years. We find a minimum of 50. 50, 60, 70. Most companies don't even know they have 10. Now, you don't go to your customer and say, get real comfortable, I got 50 reasons you should buy from me, right? We have to find out what's relevant. So we test them, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the first thing we do is we don't say things like good quality, because your definition of good quality and mine, light years apart, right? What do you think is good customer service? Not what I think is good customer service. So we believe that your competitive advantage should be stated in the past tense, and they should be stated quantifiably. So it goes like this. We don't say we have good quality. We say last year we had less than 1% returns, quantifying past performance. And here's our belief. Unlike a mutual fund, in business, past performance is the best indicator of future performance. And when you can show that you've done it and done it and done it well, then customers build confidence and you remove risk in the buying decision. If you can build confidence and remove risk, you minimize price as an issue. We are all about getting our clients out of the commodity corner.
And that's so important that you do that, because as businesses, you go out there, we all have the things that we do. We do business, a lot of times we do charitable work, and it's a lot of times not what you say but how you say it. Like the ad on TV that says 95% customer satisfaction rate. Yeah, so
customer satisfaction, I don't like those, because those are self-serving surveys. And I have to warn people, customer satisfaction surveys, they're good to do to take the temperature, and they're usually a report card on how you do. That's not the same thing as double-blind market research, where they don't know what you asking and you're trying to find out what's really important to them. There are big differences in satisfaction surveys and true market research.
And how does a business keep themselves relevant? I talk all the time about, be relevant, be entertaining, be resonating with your message, maximize that message, get it out everywhere and anywhere.
Yep.
But how does one really truly become relevant in the marketplace?
Good question, because very few do it and do it well. So we analyzed, for Relevant Selling, this book, we took 100 customer market research surveys. They were all blind surveys. In each case, their customers didn't know it was them asking. And we would say, which is most important to you when you buy products? product or service XYZ. And a product or service was a commodity, but it's not what you sell. It never is, because those are commodities. It's how you sell. Do you deliver on time? Do you respond to all calls within an hour? What are the hows that you're not talking about in the sales encounter? So we go back to companies and we say, okay, we've done your research, so you're the president of the company and you've assembled your team. We've tested 20 buying criteria. What do you think are the top buying criteria for your customers? Do you want to venture a guess about how many get it right?
I would say probably less than 1%.
Well, about 10%. About 10% get it right. That means most companies are selling you ABC, but you care about hearing about DEF. So you're missing the mark completely. You're not going to close sales if you're not talking to them about what's relevant. So the answer to your question is, how do you find out what's relevant? You ask your customers, and it's really important, I believe, that you ask them in double-blind surveys, because if you ask them, they're going to tell you price is most important because they're negotiating. Whenever a salesperson asks, it's about price. Guess where price comes up when it's double blind and they don't know it's you asking?
I would say out of the 25 criteria, probably around 16, 17.
You're right, in the bottom quintile. It's in the bottom quintile, and very few say it's about price, especially even if you ask an open-ended question. About 30% say it in the beginning of the survey, and then when you make them think about all these other things, it goes down to 10 or 15%. So one of the keys is to get people in sales understanding you don't need to cave in on price. You need to have a value proposition that sells what's relevant. If I'm your buyer, you got to talk to me about what I want to hear. I want to hear you're going to be on time. I want to hear your technicians have been well trained and that I'm not going to have to call you 5 times. Let's say those are my top buying criteria. Okay, that's what I want to hear. The product I can get from 100 different sources, right? But talk to me about the things that matter in the delivery. That's what's key.
What makes you stand above?
Right.
What makes you your unique selling proposition?
Your
We talk about
performance
it all the time, that USP, unique selling proposition. And do you have a success story you can give us? Somebody you've worked with that you've used that unique selling proposition, you've made them relevant, you've given them the competitive edge, and they've taken their business from being maybe stagnant to exploding.
Oh my gosh, both of these books are loaded with real case studies, real companies, and they're all named, and they all have those examples. I'll give you 2 real quick ones. One is an SBA loan company up in New England. They came to us, went through our process. Now, their customer is the bank loan officer, right? The businessman comes in and says, I want a loan. You say, we'll write half, we're going to send you to SBA for the other half, right? But I can send you to a whole bunch of places. So the SBA loan company wants you to send them to us. They learned what was most important. They created a concierge desk for response, for turnaround time on loans, had their own environmental expert. That company grew 114% in 11 months because they got relevant on things they had no clue was important to their customer, the loan officer. I mean, that's one that I love. Another one is a big commercial real estate company in New Jersey. He owns 200 buildings, leases commercial space, went through our process, and it was so funny. We went back and we said, guess what the number 1 buying criteria is? Not one person on their whole management or sales team guessed what was the number 1 for tenants looking for space in their buildings or competitive buildings. It was security. You know what they said when we revealed the findings? They said, that's wrong. We said, no. 90 out of 100 respondents said security. You got to let that in. Just because you didn't think about it doesn't mean it's wrong. So they thought about it. They created software that everybody in their buildings could put in any security concerns, and they dealt with it the same day. They had a 90% occupancy and 88% renewal rate in the recession when everybody else was getting low.
Well, and it just shows you deliver on what you promise and get to know what people want out there. If you give them what you want and they're a value in service, business is going to be great. And if people wanted to avail themselves of your services, which sounds great, it sounds like a session with you or a few sessions would really bring their business to the next level, how could they do that?
Well, they can look at our website, Smart Advantage, S-M-A-R-T, Advantage, smartadvantage.com, and our phone number is there, and it's also 954-763-5757. That's 954-763-5757. We're in Fort Lauderdale. We work with clients all over the country, and in fact internationally as well. We love doing this work because we watch that corporate growth almost instantly.
And it must be a real joy to see your clients really excel. The whole idea of helping other people excel, and if they listen to what you have to say, and your books say it, the case studies, they're there.
Yeah, we
so
love
definitely, ladies and gentlemen, get with Janie. Check out smartadvantage.com. And Janie, in closing, do you have any positive messages that you'd like to give to our viewers this evening?
Yeah, I always say take your rose color, we go to work every day if we own a business or we work in a business and we're looking at problems every day. And I always say to people, put your rose-colored glasses on and stop looking at what you're doing wrong, look at what you're doing right, because therein lies a lot of competitive advantages you've missed, you've forgotten about. And start to focus on those things and you'll find some things that are important. And then just ask the customer which is most relevant to you.
And again, we want to thank Janie Smith from Smart Advantage for being here on the Anything Bucket. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back on a mission to help you to stay positive.